name is Chrissy and I am from the Chattanooga Public Library, and for today's nature video we are going to be talking about how to make a campfire and then making some campfire favorites, including hot dogs. Yay!
So let's talk about how to build a campfire safely. To build a campfire, you need 3 elements you can find in nature: tinder, or small twigs, wood shavings, or dried leaves; kindling, small sticks around 1 inch or less; and fuel, which is large wood that keeps the fire going. So first off, I'm going to take my kindling and break it into smaller pieces. If a branch snaps easily, it is dry enough to use in your fire. So I'm taking my kindling and breaking it up with a little help from a buddy. So now I am taking my kindling and creating a square by stacking the twigs in a Lincoln log kind of way. This can take a little time, but it's kind of fun. Yay, the square is made. So now it's time for the tinder. So I'm taking the tinder and filling the center of my square. At first, I used leaves and wood chips that I found, but the leaves were still a little wet, so I had to use some dryer lint a little later on. And now, time for the flame. I would suggest that you have your adult do the flame, or if not, make sure that they're close by. Safety first, always. And speaking of safety, please make sure to have a dump bucket of water close by just in case your fire gets a little crazy. We always want to be safe. Now it's time for the fuel. The fuel that I'm using today are larger logs that I purchased from a local hardware store. Once again, the rain. The fuel is going to be what keeps your fire going. You will probably have to stoke them, move them, and add more as time passes. So now that we've got our fire going a little bit, why don't we actually talk about the science of fire? Sound good? Here we go. So for a fire to ignite, it needs 3 things: fuel, heat, and oxygen. And when all of those things combine, it creates a fire. So for our fuel, we're using our logs, twigs, leaves, heat, a match, and oxygen happens to be all around the air, so we're pretty good there. But if you want to add a little extra oxygen, you can blow on your fire to help it start. So now let's get to cooking one of our campfire favorites. So we're going to be cooking some cheesy potatoes today. So I'm going to start by taking some aluminum foil and folding the ends and creating kind of like a little bowl. So once you're done with that, go ahead and set it aside, and it's time to start cutting our potatoes. So you'll want to make sure to have your potatoes nice and washed, and I kept the skins on mine. So I'm just going ahead and slicing it into strips and then into cubes. Make sure to be very safe with your knife. Maybe even have an adult do it for you. Up to you. Once you have them all cubed, go ahead and put them into your aluminum foil. You can kind of spread them out if you want. That might help. And now, let's keep chopping. So we're going to go ahead and chop up our onion. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the skin and then chop the onion into cubes about the same size as my potatoes. We want to do this so everything cooks easily over our campfire. All right, so all the chopping's done. So now it's time to put our onions in with our potatoes. So I'm kind of separating my onions out and spreading them evenly with my potatoes. Up to you. Now it's time to grab our olive oil and go ahead and give it a nice drizzle over our potatoes and onions. Whoop, gotta take the cap off first. And now time to season. So I'm seasoning with salt and pepper. That's it. So just give it a generous shake of both salt and pepper. I personally like a lot of pepper on mine, but that's just me. All right, so now I'm just gonna take my knife and kind of swish everything around, make sure that everything is coated in oil and salt and pepper. Whoop, dropped one, put it back in. I'm gonna add a little bit more pepper and salt. And now I'm gonna take my aluminum foil and just fold it over. Kind of create a nice little bed for all of my potatoes and onions. All right, so now I'm gonna take some more aluminum foil and wrap it around my little bed. I'm actually gonna do this a couple of times because I wanna make sure that it's nice and insulated because it's gonna go on the campfire. All right, let's put it on the fire. So I went ahead and stoked the fire a little bit, just to give it a little extra heat for our potatoes. So now it's just gonna sit there and cook for about 30 minutes. Can't wait to see how it turns out. All right, so 30 minutes later, I took it off the fire and now kind of unwrapping it, making sure to be very careful because it's kind of hot. So opening it up, and now time for the cheese. So I'm just gonna layer a lot of cheddar cheese on top of it, and then I'm gonna wrap it back up to let that cheese melt. And while that's going on, now it's time for some hot dogs. So hot dogs are pretty easy, just put them on a skewer and over the fire, and then dress it however you like your hot dogs. All right, now that we've had our hot dogs, let's go ahead and try out our cheesy potatoes. Let me tell you, these were good. And just to add a little bit of sweetness, time for some s'mores. I'm pretty sure y'all know how to do this, but you're gonna roast your marshmallow, put it on a graham cracker with some chocolate, smush it, and then enjoy. And now comes the most important part of the video, putting out our fire. So I just took a 5-gallon bucket, put in a bunch of water, and decided to go ahead and just put it over my fire. Now this created a bunch of ash, but that's okay because we want to make sure that our fire is completely out. This is very, very, very important. So thank you all so much for watching our video, and please, if you make a campfire or any campfire favorites, please take a picture and tag us on Facebook or Instagram. Bye!